Hey, Scout. Hey, Scout. We can make a movie for the boys. Let's go show them the DX-60. Okay? No? Yes? No? Okay, guys. I'd like to talk about this DX-60. This will probably be the last video I make of it until I set up my general class glory station from 1970. I'm going to do that to check into the AM nets on 80 meters. But anyway, I'm going to start off as per my criteria document. This is going to be an assessment after restoration. Okay. Sadly, my lighting sucks bad. This light sucks. The ceiling light sucks. Outdoor light sucks even. Oddly, that flashlight works great, but I've got to hold it in one hand and my phone in the other. I'll do the best I can. Hang on. Okay, guys, in this video, I'm going to try my best to move it along. Condition of paint. Will it need to be repainted for adequate aesthetic appearance? Let's take a look. Look at this. See that with the lighting, that's going to be an issue, but we'll do what we can. Look at the paint. There's a blemish there in the center of your screen, but look at the overall condition of this cabinet. There's a blemish in the middle of your screen. One of the things I try to inspect, there's a chip through the paint. Looks like a tad bit of surface rust. One of the things I like to look at and hope for the best when buying an old radio are the corners. You can see that the paint's chipped off on that corner, but more significantly, it's not bent. Similarly, this corner, paint chipped off, but it's not bent. Corners get bent on stuff, man. Let's look at the other side. There's a little bit of imperfections there. I'm really getting up close and showing you the good and the bad. That cabinet's in fantastic condition. Dents? No dents. Any holes for mods? No, not on this outer cabinet, although I've seen it. One moment. Okay, so that's the cabinet. Next, we'll move on. Boy, this is hard to pause and unpause whilst holding this flashlight. This is such a shitty production. Physical condition of chassis. Any cadmium oxide? No, I don't think by the time we got to the 1970s, they were treating steel with cadmium, plating it with cadmium, like in vintage broadcast band radios. No cadmium oxide, no aluminum oxide. It's not aluminum, it's steel. What else? One moment. Any holes drilled for mods? Thank God, no. Thank God, no. You find all kinds of that with some of this older stuff, older Heathkits and such. No holes drilled for mods. Tuning dial cord missing or broken, not applicable in this transmitter. Tubes missing, not in this radio. No, they're all the correct ones. They're present and they're good. Okay, one moment. So that's the condition of the chassis. A little bit of I don't know what you want to call it. Pitting? Not really pitting. You can see the condition of it. Needs a cleaning. And by the way, that's all this radio needs right now is a chassis cleaning. Although I think I'm going to do the audio mod to it for the mic circuitry. Okay, one moment. Okay, guys, let's take a look at the condition of the front panel and the controls. I got very lucky with this DX-60B. It was in very good condition, both physically and electrically, except for that power supply bodge, that power supply mod that I talked about in the last video. But let's look at this radio. Do the pots feel smooth? No crunching or grinding? Well, there's only one pot in this transmitter, and that's the drive level pot. It feels nice and smooth, and it's electrically good. I checked it. Let's see, do switches move smoothly? Well, these slide switches right here are a challenge. They like to become very hard to move, and this one was no exception. A little bit of lube didn't do it. I cleaned it, and then I tried to lube it with a little bit of oil, light machine oil, like I like to use. I like to use Singer brand sewing machine oil. And that didn't help. And so, like so many Heathkit slide switches, I had to drench this thing, man. I sprayed it down good. And I actuated it back and forth, and then I blew it out. And that corrected that made it operational. But still, like so many of these Heathkit slide switches, if I just put my finger on the side here and push, it's hard to do. Listen. A little bit hard to do. Hear that? Much easier if you grasp it between your thumb and index finger, push in slightly, and slide. Nice and smooth. Okay, that's very typical of a Heathkit slide switch. Knobs that connect to variable caps rotate easily. Well, this drive tune control, for example, hooks to a little variable cap, and it turns very nice and easy. You might think that that's it. Why did I include that? Because on that HR 1680 I did, there's a little variable capacitor under the chassis, hooked to a shaft, hooked to a knob, and the cap was misaligned, and the coupler was made of rubber and rock hard. The end result being you could barely turn the knob. One moment you're tilting. A little bit you were. Okay. So yeah, all the controls and these two, the tuning and the loading control, they hook to bigger variable capacitors and they rotate fine. Okay. Meter lens yellowed. Well, let me show you the meter. One moment. I can't. You're on a tilt. Boy, I wish I had a tripod with a gimbal. The meter looks nice and clear, doesn't it? Well, I'm glad it does, because I bought 2 meters to get a decent lens. Let me show you. Okay, that nice clear meter face on that transmitter did not come cheap. And if you're the lucky soul that buys this when I sell it, the price will reflect what look at this meter face. This is the original. It looks a lot yellower in person. It's actually quite yellowed. This is the original meter face lens. Okay, guys. This nice clear meter lens came at great cost. Actually, it wasn't great, but it did cost a bit. I had to buy this vintage Heathkit meter that had the same type of lens as my DX60, and I swapped them. Okay, this meter here originally had the clear face, and I switched them. If I turn it, you can see a little bit better. This camera won't capture how bad the yellowing is. It's actually quite bad, but there. Lighting's a challenge. Okay, so the meter, it works fine, but I couldn't live with the yellowing of the lens. So will it need to be replaced for aesthetic reasons? Yes, this one did. Okay, one moment. Hang on. Control lettering, front panel control lettering. Is any of it scratched off by fingernails from using the control? No. These the lettering is in beautiful condition. It's perfect on this radio. Absolutely perfect, and I got lucky. Knobs. Are all the knobs present? Yes. Are they the correct ones? Yes. Tuning scale scratched? One moment. Tuning dial, tuning scale scratched up? No, not applicable. Front panel corners bent? Oh boy, that is an unfortunate thing that happens to so many Heathkits, to so many old radios, period, right? These front panel controls are perfect. Moving on, the rear panel. Has it been molested by drilled holes or additional switches or pots? No, thank God. This rear panel is original, including the antenna connector. It's an RCA jack. They didn't even use a BNC or an SO239. They used RCA jacks. I can't believe it. Okay, moving on. Below chassis. Number of tubular paper capacitors. They love to get leaky. They always have to be replaced, every one of them. Well, in this radio, there are only 3. You'll see the yellow caps that I've replaced there. Any coils obviously damaged? No, there weren't. If a Heathkit, assessment of solder work. Well, the solder work in this radio was very good, very good. They didn't commit the atrocities like the other builder did in that HR-10B receiver. For example, they clipped off the excess leads in this radio. You know, and the wire routing makes sense in this radio, unlike that receiver. So the solder work is done well, except for a couple problem areas. One being this tube socket right there. Every pin on that is grayish. I took a photograph. I'll bring it up now. And you can see the pins, the solder is gray. It's not shiny. And there's one other tube socket that has a couple gray solder joints on the pins. But I don't need to show you that. This one will suffice. So on this one I'm showing you, I'll just reheat each joint, each solder connection, and add a bit of new solder to it. And I'll be inspecting, I inspected every solder joint in this radio, and other than that tube socket and one other one, the solder joints look fine. So, not bad. They did a pretty good job. Any obvious signs of previous repair work? No, in this radio there weren't. It was fine. Other than the power supply being butchered. And yeah, so selenium rectifier in the power supply, not applicable. It uses silicon diodes. Wire insulation brittle, that more pertains to older radios, older consumer broadcast band radios. In some of those, the type of rubber they use to insulate the wire, it's actually brittle, and if you touch it and mess with it, it crumbles right off the wire, leaving a bare wire. In a radio like that, where you've got to replace every wire in the radio, that can be a lot of work. It's a drag. Is there an ungrounded or non-parallel? Is there an ungrounded or non-polarized power cord to replace? Yes, there was. This radio used a non-polarized 2-wire power cord, which isn't a horrible thing on a radio like this. It has a input transformer, because that transformer, you could also call it an isolation transformer. It's got a built-in isolation transformer. All transformers are. And so that 2-wire non-polarized power cord, that had to go, though. I installed a grounded 3-wire modern power cord, and I committed the atrocity. I can't really, let me, hang on. I pause you. I committed the blasphemy of drilling a hole. I said the rear panel had no hole, was unmolested by drilled holes, and it's not exactly true. I did one. I drilled a hole for this fuse holder. I deemed it worthy. There. Nice video, huh? Worthy of a normal fuse holder thing. So there you go, a post-restoration assessment of this Heathkit DX-60B circa 1970. Oh boy, this video has been rough in the making. I'm going to have to edit the shit out of this thing. I hope you're well. What was that? I hope you have a nice day. The sun blinked. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys. Hey, guys. I forgot to mention the wiring under this chassis was pretty darn good, and I was happy with it, with only a couple exceptions, one being right here, right there. If you can try to notice the gap between that black wire and that capacitor frame. That black wire, it's not insulated wire. That's a plastic, some kind of sleeve that Heathkit had them slide over that wire. And it was pressed up against the capacitor frame, which is grounded. I took a picture. I'll cut to it now. So there you can see the wire actually touching the capacitor frame. And boy, it looks like it's corroded where they touch. Would it have ever had a problem? I don't know. Maybe, probably. But anyway, I bent that wire away from the capacitor frame. It's not very far. It's probably a 1/16 of an inch. Maybe 3/32. Whatever. At least it's not touching. Okay. Bye, guys.